Hey, coaches. Welcome back to Football Talk with Coach Chip. Season 2, Episode 10. Season 2 is rocking right along. We're going to look at old school power. Everybody talks about A-gap power. I've done a video on A-gap power. A-gap power is great, but you can still run the old school, for lack of a better word, B-gap power from a spread look with your sniffer back and all that. So, just remember, leave all your questions and comments below. Got the comments open. I found out what was wrong there. And so now you can comment, or you can email me at siegel.chip@gmail.com. Join the discussion at Football Talk with Coach Chip on Facebook. Just go to it and tell me what it looks like. Because when I go to it, of course, it's mine. And so it seems a little different. Just on your Facebook, type in Football Talk with Coach Chip and see what comes up. Okay, and I am Chip Siegel on Twitter. Let's get started. Old school power scheme. Blocking the B-gap / wide power, for lack of a better term, using the chip technique. No, I'm not arrogant or cocky. I don't call it that because that's my name. Who I learned it from called it that a long time ago. So you chip off. And we'd used that over in Lynette for several years. And this past year, we kind of tried using the A-gap power. And there's nothing wrong with it. Either one of them, they're great. It just depends on what type of lineman you have and how you want to do it. Okay? Also, too, I think the B-gap power, or wide power as we're calling it for this episode, for all intents and purposes, is pretty much designed. It's going to go B-gap. Very rarely. Now, against an odd front, it can go A. But against an even front, it's pretty much going to go B, and your running back doesn't have to read so much. He can just follow that guard, and that guard knows he's wrapping off that down block. And if it's against an under front, you know it's going to hit a little bit tighter. So let's just look at it. At the end, I've got a couple of videos, some of us doing it. I got a couple of Auburn and Florida doing it. All right, the old B-gap power scheme. All right, you got your gaps. You got A-gap, one on both sides, and the B-gap. And we want to hit it right here. Now, first things first, teach your kids their gap responsibilities before you ever teach them their rules. Okay? Teach them their gap responsibilities before you ever teach them their rules. Gap responsibilities. You got your play side tackle responsible for his B-gap right here. All right, so if we're running power right, he's play side tackle. He knows he's responsible for B-gap or any B-gap threat. Now that means that there's a guy in a 2, a guy head up. Okay? That's a 50-50 player. Okay? So understand he could go either gap if he's head up in a 2. So you coach him up. That means you're going to get him because he's a B-gap threat and you've got to clean up B-gap. If he's in a 3-tech, it's easy. He's got the 3-tech. All right, the play side guard. Let's just say we're running power right for the sake of argument. All right, he's responsible for the A-gap. And I'll show you his rules on the next slide. The rule is that he's got the gap. So it's going to be gap, chip, linebacker. All right, so he looks in the gap. If there's nothing in the gap and he's got a 2 or a 3, then there's the chip. I'll show you about my rules in just a moment. All right, the center's got backside A. Now remember, we're just saying we're running power right. He's got backside A. Anything in there, any threat, okay? And we're not Karnak. We can't see into the future. You know, don't let the kids say, well, Coach, I thought the linebacker was coming. Linebacker's lined up 4 or 5 yards off the ball. Come on, dog. All right, now if he's creeping, then sure, I can buy that. All right, so you got to get the A-gap threat backside. The backside guard is your puller. Okay, he's going to pull wrap to linebacker. And then your backside tackle, his rule is gap flip, gap hinge. But remember, the first word in his rule is gap. So he's responsible for B gap. All right, so understand that. All right, let's look at the rules. All right, so play side tackle's rule is gap, down, backer. He's responsible for B gap. All right, now understand about my rules. Rules are a progression. Anytime you see those dashes, that means that's the order in which you do it. Okay, remember, if you watch season 1, I'm a big wristband guy. Even if I work for a coach or a guy that won't let me go no huddle, I'm still putting wristbands on them because I don't want to teach the kids who to block. I want to teach them how to block. So anyway, and teach them techniques so they can just look on the wristband, and I've taught them the technique since day one. They look at the wristband, see the rule. Oh, gap down backer. Here's the technique Coach Chip taught me. All right, so play side tackle is gap down backer. So he looks in the gap. In this case, he's got a 3-tech right here. Here's your play side tackle. He's got a 3-tech. So he's going to block down on the 3-tech. All right, the play side guard right here. Remember running power right. Play side guard. I don't know why I keep losing my cursor. Okay. There it is. All right, so the play side guard's got gap. He looks in the gap because it's progression. So the first thing he does is check the gap. Nothing in the gap, then goes on to the next word. Chip. So he's going to chip something if there's a 2 or a 3 to chip. Now, if there's a 1, like it's an underfront or a 2-eye, depending on who you are, what you call it at your school, guys, inside shoulder view. That's gap. The dude's in the gap. So you don't even go any further in your progression. That's the same for all the rules. You know, don't let one of them tell you, well, Coach, there was a backer there. Yeah, but there was somebody in your gap or somebody down before you ever got to backer. You never should have got to that part of the rule because it's a progression. You got to teach them this. You know, got to get on the board with them, not the boards out on the field. Get on the whiteboard with them in the classroom. Show them video. Draw it up for them. Walk them through it. Okay? That's what off season is for. Get them on the board. Get them in the gym. Get them in the classroom. Get them cockeyed desk out of the way and go to town on them. Do an old-fashioned chair drill. So when they get on the field and you start practicing, they know what to do. When they look at that wristband, okay, or they know you don't do wristbands, you make the call. And they say, oh, I'm gap down backer, or I'm gap chip backer. All right, so what you have to do, each kid looks at their wristband or looks at their rule, gap down backer, play side guard, gap chip backer. All right, so there's nobody in the gap for the play side guard, but he's got a 3. He's going to chip. Now, it's up to you whether you want to teach him a 4-eye, or maybe the tackle can tell him, say, hey, you know, you got to call for help. Say, hey, help me chip this guy. That's cool. You can do it that way too. All right, but remember, his rule is gap chip backer. It's a progression. In this case, nobody in the gap. He's chipping. Okay? Now, and he's responsible for a gap. Now, here's what I teach him. Teach them step with the inside foot first. That's counterintuitive to the double teams that we talked about before, that we'd run on zone or that we'd run on the A-gap power. It goes against that because remember, we're trying to get the double team on those plays and stay with them. On this one, he's got to be able to chip off and clean up A-gap because he's still responsible for A-gap if he's chipping. And that's what you got to teach. That's what the chip means. You're chipping off of it. So I teach him step with inside foot, make contact with on the second step with the outside foot. You can use hands, you can use flipper. I like flipper on this technique. Okay, now if I was running A-gap power, I would not run this play. I'd run one or the other. That's up to you. Like I tell you, it's like cooking, y'all. Season to taste. I'd run one or the other. You don't want the kids to get confused. And if they're smart enough to do it, I'd damn sure call it something different besides power. Call it blast or whatever. I don't care. Call it blast because it's B-gap. That's cool. Hey, that just came to me. God, I'm a stinking genius. All right, now, so he's going to come off and inside foot first. That way on that second step, he can third step with that inside foot to get a backer who's coming in the A-gap. And we'll show you some diagrams of that. So inside foot first. So what you'd see is you see him step with his inside foot. Now here it is. Step inside foot. Outside foot, making contact on the inside part of the 3. All he's trying to do is stop him from getting upfield, and he's eyes and head in the A-gap. Eyes and head in the A-gap. And whatever shows, he comes off and he gets it. Whatever shows, he comes off and he gets it. He may not get much of it. And truthfully, some people think the chip is because you're chipping off that tackle, but you're also sometimes only getting a little bit of that linebacker. But remember, if a linebacker is flying, if he's hauling butt and you don't get a piece of him, but a piece of him on the side, you're going to knock him off his course and knock him back over here, y'all. Okay, you're going to knock him back over here, and the play's coming here. It's B gap. Okay? All right, the center's rule is back, responsible for A gap. If there's nothing in the A gap, he keeps going back. The only time I teach the center to get a linebacker is on a stack. Okay? And that depends on my center. I've had him go back to get that stack backer behind the defensive end on a 3-3 stack. But usually we just block back, tell him to block back. And if the guy's in a 3, he'll still block back all the way. He'll flatten his angle out almost like he's trapping him. Come all the way back to here. All right, and then the play side tackle, gap, flip, or gap hinge, whatever you want to call it. I call it flip because it reminds the kids to flip their hips. They're going to step in that B gap, nothing's coming, flip their hips. Because what we wound up getting was kids just stepping in there, nothing coming, and they go. You know, and a pretty good fast DN may be able to get back in there or something like that. And it screws us up on our RPOs if he's not flipping because he's going downfield after he checks B gap. I don't want him going downfield at all. Gap flip or gap hinge responsible for B gap first. So there you got it. You got every gap covered. Okay, and the play's not designed to bounce. Of course, you know, somebody may make you bounce it somewhere. All right, teaching the chip technique. Play side tackle is blocking down and securing the B gap. You see it in the diagram right here. Play side tackle is blocking down, securing the B gap. All right, play side guard, he's driving the inside of the 2 or the 3 tech, defensive tackle, with eyes inside. Have his eyes inside. When you're working on this, you don't have to have a backer over here to begin with. What you do is you stand here and hold up 1 or 2 fingers and have him call it out to you and have him penalize it. If he calls the wrong number or his head's not up and he doesn't know, make him give you some belly flops or some push-ups if you're in the gym. You don't want a belly flop on the gym floor or on the tile in the classroom. Teach him to get those eyes up. All right? If something shows in the A gap, he comes off the DT and picks it up. There it is. Okay, if something comes, he picks it up. And it doesn't matter what it is. That's what you got to teach him. You may want to just stand over here. Have some guys standing over here, just 3 of them, just standing around, and point to one of them every time, and just have a different one come. You know, have 1 back up, 2 back up, 1 come, something like that. This one do this one come here. So make sure his eyes are on the A gap and not on him. Have his eyes in the gap, what he's responsible for, okay? So whatever comes, you know, for some reason that nose comes flashing all the way across the center of space and gets in the A gap, he ought to be cleaning it up because that's where his head is. All right, the B gap power, continued. Here you go with your wrapping guard. You got your play side tackle blocking down on the 3. Okay, right here. You got him inside foot first, making contact on the second step with his outside foot. On this, I prefer the flipper, the shoulder, the old school stuff, the chicken wing it. Pam, stand him up. Head's in the A gap. Something comes in that A gap. He's coming right here. Something's coming. He comes off and gets it. See, right there. Boom. The wrapping guard will then get the backside backer. That's for you guys that don't RPO it or anything like that. You're not going to read the wheel. But you still need to account for him because sometimes you're going to tell your quarterback on 3rd and 2, you know, to give it no matter what. Don't read the guy. So you got to account for him. So he'll wind up. But if it's vice versa, see, this is why I like this B gap power. Okay, if this Mike comes here, your wrapper gets him, and the wheel fires trying to do a run through here. See? And then we had a problem with that, a guy running through. You may have heard me talk about it before, because this guy wasn't coming off. He was burying his face in this guy. And you can't do that on this chip technique, the way we do our B gap power, the way I do it when I run it. All right, so here it is. This is the same scenario, but the linebackers are coming different. See, now the wrapper will get the mic, and the play side guard will chip off and get the wheel because his eyes are in the A gap. His eyes aren't on the mic. His eyes aren't buried into the chest or the armpit of the 3 tech. His eyes are in the A gap. His head is turned. He is looking in the A gap. And whatever shows, he gets it. Tell him something comes in there, you kill it. Okay? All right. linebacker shows in the A gap, so the play side guard comes off. There it is. He doesn't look at the backer. He looks at the A gap. The linebacker does not show in the A gap, so the play side guard stays on the DT. See here? See, that backer fits up over the top of the double team. And if nothing ever shows up in the A gap, he can just stay in there. It's kind of like that what is it? That Crowther sled where you're doing that drill and you got that shoulder up in there and you're doing them baby steps and feet chopping 90 to nothing like that, and your head's looking inside. And your head's looking, I wish y'all could see me. Okay? Your head's looking inside. So he'd stay on it until something shows. All right, in this one, the mic doesn't show in the A gap, so the play side guard stays on the double team until he sees the will threatening his A gap. Then he comes off. Now, some may say, well, they're working against each other, coach, because you got the play side tackle blocking down. No, they're not. One's pushing in and one's pushing up. Okay, so if the double team stays intact, you probably would get this cat coming over here. All right, but what's going to happen, he's going to get a piece of them. Something's happening in this A gap. We're talking high school football here. We're talking, remember, all right, the O-line coach at the University of Georgia is probably not watching my videos. If he is, please God, somebody tell me. I could use that promotion. All right, the line coach at Alabama and Auburn aren't watching my show or my YouTube channel. This goes to, I aim it at small school coaches with limited reps, junior high, ninth grade, JV, reg league guys. Somebody's coming in that B gap. Okay? Or you're playing against a team that's not very well coached on that A gap. Okay? You're playing against a not very well coached team. Defensively, you're going to win anyway. Okay? You're going to win anyway. Because I doubt very seriously they're going to have a stud right here that requires a double team and then a bunch of yahoos right here, pisquillies, that won't get in there. All right? Somebody's coming. And especially when on the younger leagues, when they blitz linebackers all the time, that's the defensive coach's answer to everything. Oh, you're gashing me. I'm going to blitz. Oh, you're running rocket on me. I'm going to blitz. That makes as much sense as a left-handed hammer, but that's what they do. All right, the B-gap power versus the underfront. Same rules, guys. He's still responsible. He's still gap down backer responsible for B-gap. The play side tackle still responsible. Nothing in it, nothing down, go to backer. Okay, he's going to do just like that. Go to backer. All right, his rule is gap, chip, backer, gap, chip, backer. There's nothing. There's something in the gap. He doesn't even look at the rest of his rule. There's something in his gap, and he's responsible for a gap, keeping it secured, cleaning it up. So he's going to do a straight down block on the nose. Gap. Something's in my gap. I don't give a crap about chip. I don't give a crap about backer. Something's in my gap. Center's rule, block back. He's responsible for a gap. Now, if something comes right here before he gets there, like he walks up, then he's got to get it. His rule is back. He gets the first thing back. Okay? And if we don't get that 3-tech with the gap flip from the backside tackle, we're still in better shape than letting the guy run through the A gap right there. So he's going to block back. And he's still wrapping. And he's got to look pre-snap. See what they're in. Am I wrapping wide against the 3? Am I wrapping tight against a 1 or a 2-eye? Or am I wrapping really tight, say, against the 0? He's got to look at that and know. Now, whether you want to do the square pull, whatever, that's up to you. Again, salt. All right, now here it is against what some people call it the bear front. Back when I first started coaching, we called it TNT, because remember when I first started coaching, the bear front was just coming into vogue. That was when Buddy Ryan was really making hay in the mid-'80s. And we'd call it TNT. And to me, the bear front was more than just 2 3s and a 0. Because it was, there's more to it. You got guys walked up, kind of 7-9 squeeze on the tight end. But the TNT or the bear front, you're still good, guys. You're still good. And you say, well, what's going to keep the mic from doing a run through right here? Well, there's a crowd here. Okay, and unless you just have a terrible block right here, I'm going to tell you now, I'm not a physicist, but I do know this. A solid cannot pass through a solid. Okay? So, I didn't mean to do that. Go back. All right, a solid can't pass through a solid, so that mic can't go through that gap. All right. The B gap power, here's the complete play right here. There you go. Okay. Mike fits up over the top of the down block, so the backside wrapper gets him. Guard's chipping off. Here comes the Will in the A gap. He's responsible for the A gap. The center blocking back on the nose because he's responsible for the backside A gap. The backside guard is wrapping to linebacker. He's getting whichever one shows. He's wrapping around the down block. Okay? He's got to hug that rump line. Then the backside guy is doing his gap flip thing. Okay? There you go. All right. Here it is with the running back. Now here's what we teach the running back. Press the A gap. He knows he's not running there. Okay? The red, here's the running back, of course. He knows he's not running there, but we want to press the A gap because we want to make this guy step up. We're going to come off, we're going to chip off and get him. Okay? And he knows he's going B. You just teach him. So you're going to hug the down blocks. So we tell him, run the A gap till you can't. And what's going to happen, you get good movement. He's going to get to the line of scrimmage before he breaks out into the B gap. But by then, the Mike has stepped up and gets caught up in the wash that you're creating here. And now your Will, if he's coming playing flat, you got a flat player coming and you got a downhill guard who's coming right off that tackle's down block, hugging it tight, close enough to strike a match. And so we're in pretty good shape right here. Now your wrappers, okay, here's your J block. You've heard me talk about that before. Looks like a J, kinda. Okay, if you have an imagination, it looks like a J. And so what you're going to do, you're going to step up, become part of the line is what I teach them. What do you call them? An H, an F, whatever you call him. All right. He's going to step up into the line, become part of it, come right off that tackle's butt as he's blocking down, and then try to block the inside number of that end man. You do not want to get beat inside. This guy's taught the same thing as far as aiming point. He's going to wrap. And again, I'm not going to tell you how to do that. You can do your skip pull, your box pull, your old school crank the lawnmower pull, whatever you want to do. But as he comes through, he wants to hug the down block of the tackle. Okay, and if you do it with a tight end, he'll hug the down block of the tight end too. And that's a rump line. It's a line of rumps. And he wants to get close enough to strike a white tip match on those guys' booties. Because we can't let this Mike come right here and fit up between the puller and the down block. They can't do that. So you stay tight and you want to attack the inside number. Now, will it bounce? It could. If it bounces out here, we're good. Because we're already past the end man. We've already kicked him and we bounce out here. All right, if you can't get the inside number, cool. Just get whatever you can. But tell him his aiming point's the inside number. And in practice, make him do it perfect. And then if he doesn't do it perfect in the game, as long as he gets him, running back's got to earn his pregame meal too. Okay? So try to attack the inside number. If the guy fits up wide, then it's easy to get the inside number. If the guy does a good job and fits up tight, all right, then what you're doing, you're just going to create something outside. And all you can get is just get the guy. Okay? All right, the power versus a 3-3 stack with a lock call. All right, now I'm going to show you a video of somebody, what they do to that 4 technique with the J block, and that's fine. I'm going to tell you, be honest with you, whether or not you make a lock call, and it's whatever you want to call it, and do it this way, or you want him to block down and stick with his rules, and don't make a call, because you got a war daddy right here, a war daddy hog who can dig crap out. You can do it. Or if they beat him inside, he's man enough to wash his butt in and make that thing bounce a little bit. So that's up to you. This is what we've done because most of the teams that play us for us, they're really 4 highs. And here's what I mean by that. They line up in a 4, but they're slanting inside because they'd heap rather have their DN play in the B gap and their linebacker play in the C gap. All right, that's been about 80% of the time, in my opinion, In my experience against odd fronts the last 10, 15 years, that odd front guy, that 4 technique is responsible for the inside gap. And so he's pretty dadgum good, and you block down, so he's already on his way down, and it's tough for that H to get in there and dig him out. So a lot of times we just make a lock, okay? We just make a lock, or we'll call zone and make an X call and wrap that backside guy and have a lead call for the H. That's the way to do it, in my opinion. But now you can run the A gap. The A gap's going to be there. See right here? Because you're teaching that running back to hug the down block too, just like the wrapper. That running back needs to be taught to follow that wrapping guard, and they're both going to hug them down blocks. This time it's the guard's down block, you see. Okay, it takes a lot of practice. The backs need to be with the line. All right, let's watch this video here, if I can get this thing started. Here we go. All right, this is us, 2016, second round of playoffs. They had a man-child right here playing DN. And he wasn't very big. He was stocky. He was a good little 2A football player, okay? One of those kids never going to play on Saturday for anybody. He's not even going to play D2. He may be 5'9", 5'10", about 210 pounds, and he built like a fire hydrant. And we figured out, we had enough film on him, we figured out they were going to flip him to the strength. And we were so H dominant for, 11 games. This is second round. And never had to not be H dominant. So we used our Maverick call on him. Okay, so that way we were going, because this guy right here, bless his heart, just wasn't that good. Wasn't as good as the other one. Are you watching? The H is going to Maverick here, and watch the down blocks. Boom. Turn those butts. Turn those. There you go. There you go. Whoops. I didn't want to go there yet. Here we go. Here comes, see, we do the flat pull. Boom, right there. Get inside. Come on, man. That guard needed to get inside. By the way, that right tackle was just a... Oh, no, that was the senior. Okay. Here we go. The next year in 17, when the right tackle was a freshman, you can see he did a lot of position blocking. He wasn't real physical yet, but he turned out to be pretty good for us. Okay. All right, here's Auburn doing it several years ago against Tennessee. That H does a heck of a job. So look at the down blocks. Good wrap. The linebacker fit up outside. Somebody messed up in orange. That DN either didn't get in that B gap. Look at that. And that guard was smart. He just helped out with that guy. Because the DN was headed that way. He was pinching, squeezing, whatever you want to call it. All right, watch that DN. See him coming like I used to call that bullet. Here, let's do it again. See, angle, boom. There you go. Good, good. That's good stuff, man. God almighty. That does something to my soul. It makes me tingle. All right, good job by the H. Now, you can do this. Now, notice that guy. Let me go back. Oh, shoot. All right. Watch the guy, the DN, squeeze right here. And he just washes him. Guard did a good job picking it up, got outside, still got the same responsibility. He's got the backer. But, boom, in Florida, back when Tebow was there, they did a heck of a job. They blocked power schemes so many daggum times a game, it wasn't even funny. Okay, let's go back to that. All right. So now this one they block down with their tight end. And sometimes you'll see teams with a tight end, they'll turn out. Now against an odd front, and with an outside backer walk down to a 9, I'd probably turn out and just block it like it was no tight end. Okay? Now, or against an odd front, I wouldn't even have a tight end. Against an even front, if that defensive end with his hand on the ground, the 5 tech's going to bump out to a 9 tech, to just block everything on the front side down. It's down, down, down. Pull J block with the kick, and then wrap. And you let your H or your fullback kick out that 9 technique. You just widened it out and made it a better hole, okay, on an even front. And if they give you a 7, okay, there ain't no way to block him down. To block him out with the tight end, because he's inside the tight end. If you got that tight end, he'll be playing on Sundays. Not Saturdays, dude, Sundays. All right. The power key points. Things to remember. The front side is responsible for their backside gap first. The backside guard must hug the down blocks, hug the rump line, close enough to strike a match. The kick out block must get in the line, that's the H or the fullback, and kick flat like it's a trap. Hit the inside number. Don't get beat inside. The running back must hug the down blocks, hug the rump line, just like the pulling guard. We say press the A gap until you can't, until you cannot. They can always widen if they're too tight, but they cannot tighten if they're too wide. Okay? So be tight, and then you can bounce it a little bit, bend it out. Okay, but if you start out in the B gap, and that thing opens up in the A gap, or for whatever reason tight, then you're in trouble. Okay? The kick out blocker and the wrapper should block the inside of their man, block the inside numbers. Eyes on inside number. They cannot get beat inside. And one thing I don't have here on the wrapping backside guard, on the play side guard, get your cockeyed eyes in the A gap. Okay? All right, that's it for Season 2, Episode 10. Episode 10 of Season 2, the Old School Power. It's still a good play. Okay, don't forget our sponsors, Johnny's New York Style Pizza in West Point, Georgia. If you're coming through on I-85 between Atlanta and Montgomery, when you cross the Chattahoochee River, if you're hungry, put Johnny's Pizza into your GPS, into your phone, and you'll be there in about 5 minutes coming off the interstate. It's like 2 miles, okay, from the interstate, either exit. All right, it's right there on the Chattahoochee River. I'm thinking Johnny's. And don't forget our good friends up at Wright Equipment in Birmingham, Alabama. They have done weight rooms all across the country. They do great work. Leo Wright, Alan Creasy, great people up there at Wright Equipment. They got great prices. They'll work with you on your billing. Just give them a call. Train the right way with Wright Equipment. All right, join the discussion in the comments below. Email me, siegel.chip@gmail.com, or go to Football Talk with Coach Chip. I tell you what, do everything, and go to at Chip Siegel on Twitter. Somebody that's watching this right now that you're not on Football Talk with Coach Chip, first off, what's wrong with you? All right, do me a favor. Just do a search on your Facebook, Football Talk with Coach Chip, and then send me an email. Screenshot it, send me an email. What does it look like? I don't know, because when you're the creator of it or the admin of it, whatever they call it, it looks different. It just shows up on my phone. It just shows up on my Facebook page. So I want to see what it looks like when somebody's not a member. How easy is it to find? I don't know. All right. Remember our sponsors. And until next time, come on, guys. You know what to do. It's time to, that's right, be elite.